He called me a freeloader in the house I paid for. My daughter just watched, then told me to eat the slop they served me. They thought I was a broken old man. They forgot I spent 40 years as a builder. I don't just construct foundations. I demolish them, too. If you're listening to this, subscribe to the channel and let me know where you're watching from. It helps more than you know. My name is Arthur Jenkins, and I need to tell you how my sanctuary became my prison. The smell of Thanksgiving filled the air. Roasted turkey, cinnamon, expensive wine that cost more than my monthly bills used to. It was supposed to be the smell of family, celebration, but to me, it smelled sour, tainted. The tension in my daughter's mansion clung to the walls like thick, old smoke. I sat at the far end of the long mahogany table, isolated, a stranger in a house I bought. I looked around the opulent dining room. The crystal chandelier sparkled above us. The imported rugs muffled the sounds of the servers. My money paid for all of it, and yet I felt like a trespasser, a ghost haunting a life I no longer recognized. Mark, my son-in-law, held court at the head of the table. Chloe, my daughter, was right beside him, her laughter too loud, her diamonds too bright. I'm a builder. 40 years with a hammer in my hand. I built houses, schools, libraries. I understood foundations. I knew how to make things last. Strong structures that could withstand any storm. It was ironic, wasn't it? The foundation in my own family was crumbling beneath my feet, and I didn't see the cracks until the whole structure was about to collapse. It all started 2 years ago. The day the music died, Clara, my wife, was the music. She was the warmth, the laughter. Then she got sick. The cancer was aggressive, fast. When she left, the grief was a heavy blanket. It smothered me. I rattled around our old house. The silence was deafening. Every room echoed with her absence. I was lost, broken, vulnerable. Chloe and Mark saw her opportunity. They swooped in the day after the funeral, dressed in black, their faces masks of sympathy. "Dad, you shouldn't be alone in this big old house," Chloe had said. Her eyes were soft then. She held my hand. I thought it was compassion. I realize now, it is calculation. Mark paced the living room. He always twisted his expensive Rolex when he was thinking about money. A nervous habit I should have paid more attention to. "This house is too much for you, Arthur," he said, his voice smooth. "The upkeep, the taxes, it's draining you. Sell it. Move in with us. We're upgrading anyway." They painted a beautiful picture. A new life, a bigger house, a place where I would be cared for, where I could watch my grandson, Leo, grow up. I wanted that future. I was desperate to escape the silence of my empty home. So I agreed to everything. I sold my house, the house Claire and I built together, the house where we raised Chloe. I sold my memories, my history. I gave them almost everything. Hundreds of thousands of dollars. My retirement savings. My legacy. I thought I was investing in my future, securing my place in the family. I didn't realize I was buying a ticket to my own humiliation. I didn't realize I was funding my own prison. The agreement was simple. I give them the money. They give me a home for life. It seemed safe, but safety is an illusion when greed takes over. The new house was massive, a sprawling mansion with pillars and a 3-car garage. It was cold, all glass and polished hardwood, nothing like the warm, cozy home I left behind. The first few months were good. They gave me the guest suite, spacious, private. I felt welcomed. I felt that it was a lie, a performance, and I was the unsuspecting audience. The shift was subtle at first, like a hairline fracture in concrete. You don't notice it until it's too late. It started with the financial control, slowly, methodically. Chloe came to me one morning. She had a burrito of papers. "Dad, it's getting complicated managing all these different accounts," she said, smiling brightly. "It would be easier if we consolidated everything, put everything in a joint account. We can manage the bills for you, so you don't have to worry." I hesitated. Clara always handled the finances. She warned me never to give up control of my money, but I was tired, grieved, and I trusted my daughter. "Okay, Chloe," I said, "whatever is easiest." I signed the papers. I signed away my independence. I should have known better. The real betrayal was still waiting in the shadows. A few weeks later, I went to the bank. I needed cash for a new pair of shoes. I met Sarah Jenkins, the bank teller. She was young, kind. She always asked about Clara. She looked at the account balance. Her smile faltered. "Mr. Jenkins, are you aware of the recent withdrawals?" she asked, her voice low. "Withdrawals? What withdrawals?" She turned the screen towards me. "Large sums of money, transferred to a business account under Mark Anderson's name." "Chloe must have moved it," I said, waving my hand dismissively. "She's managing the finances now." Sarah looked worried. It's a lot of money, Mr. Jenkins. And the transfers are frequent. Are you sure everything is okay?" "Everything is fine, Sarah," I said, slightly annoyed. "Just give me the cash." I didn't see the warning sign. I didn't the betrayal hiding in plain sight. The money was disappearing, and I was letting it happen. I left the bank, ignoring the knot of anxiety tightening in my stomach. Then came the move. The first major humiliation. I came home from a walk. My things were packed in boxes, stacked in the hallway. Mark was directing movers, carrying a large oak desk into my room, my guest suite. "What's happening?" I asked. Confused. "We need the space," Mark said, not looking at me. He adjusted his Rolex. "I'm setting up a home office. Clients are coming over. We need to look professional." "Where am I going?" My voice trembled slightly. Mark pointed up, above the garage. "It's perfectly fine. Quiet." Chloe stood behind him, avoiding my eyes, fidgeting with her diamond bracelet. A new one, a nervous habit she had when she was lying. "It's cozy, Dad," she said. "You'll have privacy." Cozy meant small. Privacy meant isolated. The room above the garage was cramped. It smelled like motor oil and dust. The stairs were steep. My knees ached every time I climbed them. I sat on the narrow bed, looking at the framed picture of Clara. I was no longer a father. I was a tenant, a burdensome one, banished, a servant in the house I paid for. But that wasn't the worst part. The worst part was the isolation. My old friends stopped calling. I wondered why. I thought they had forgotten me. One afternoon, I saw Frank, my old boating partner, driving by. I waved at him. He looked away, quickly. I was confused, hurt. I called him later that evening. "Frank? It's Arthur. I saw you today." Frank was silent for a moment. Then he sighed. "Arthur, I didn't want to bother you." "Bother me? Why would you bother me?" "Chloe told me," Frank said, his voice hesitant. "She told me you were declining, that you were getting confused, that visitors upset you." I felt a cold dread spread through my chest. "Confused? Declining? Frank, that's not true." "She said you had early onset dementia," Frank continued. "She said it was best if we stayed away, for your sake." Dementia, the word hit me like a punch to the gut. They weren't just isolating me. They were building a narrative, a story where I was the confused old man, and they were the burdened saints caring for me. I noticed the neighbors started acting strangely, too. Mrs. Albright across the street, who used to chat about gardening. One afternoon, I saw her retrieving her mail. I walked over. "Hello, Mrs. Albright," I said. She jumped, startled. Her eyes were cold, distant. "Oh, Arthur? Hello, are you all right? You seem troubled." She hesitated. "It's just, Chloe told me you've been having episodes. Wandering off. She's worried about you. Episodes. Wandering off." The lies were spreading, poisoning everyone against me, laying the groundwork for something sinister. They were gaslighting me, making me doubt my own sanity. I started watching them, closely. I noticed the little things, the whispered conversations that stopped when I entered the room, the glances they exchanged, the way they treated me like a child. I realized I was trapped in a gilded cage, and they held the key. The house was always full of people. Mark's business associates, Chloe's society friends, dinner parties, cocktail hours. I was never invited. I was hidden away like a shameful secret. I would sit in my room above the garage, listening to the laughter, the music, the sounds of a life I was no longer a part of. Sometimes I would see Maria, the housekeeper. She came twice a week. She was a quiet woman, hardworking. She avoided eye contact with everyone, including me. One day, I was in the kitchen getting a glass of water. Maria was cleaning the stove. She looked tired, stressed. I tried to talk to her. "Hard day, Maria?" She nodded, not looking up. Suddenly, we heard Chloe's voice coming from the hallway. "I don't care how much it costs, Mark," Chloe was saying, her voice sharp. "We need to get him out of here. He's ruining everything. He's embarrassing." Maria froze, her eyes widened with fear. She looked at me, a quick glance, full of pity and warning. Mark's voice was lower, calmer, but just as cruel. "We're working on it, Chloe. These things take time. We have to make sure the money is secure first." "The money is secure," Chloe hissed. "We drained his accounts. He has nothing left. It's time for the next step." The nursing home. Nursing home. The words hung in the air. Heavy, poisonous. I felt my blood run cold. They were planning to discard me, to throw me away like trash. And they confirmed what Sarah at the bank suspected. They had stolen everything. Maria quickly resumed cleaning, her hands trembling. She had heard everything. She knew their plan. I looked at her, hoping for an ally, a witness, but she kept her head down. She couldn't afford to lose her job. The secret was out. The plan was concrete, imminent, and I felt powerless to stop it. The despair threatened to overwhelm me. Then came Thanksgiving, the ultimate humiliation, the final nail in the coffin. I came down when I was called. I entered the dining room. It was a scene from a magazine, opulent, extravagant. 10 guests, dressed in their finest clothes. I felt out of place, shabby, a stain on their perfect picture. I sat at the far end of the table, my designated spot, away from the important people. I tried to catch Chloe's eye, hoping for a flicker of the daughter I once knew, but she avoided my gaze. Too busy charming David Chen, Mark's main business partner. A slick man with a shark-like smile. Chen kept glancing at me, a faint look of distaste on his face. I was the embarrassing relative, the unwanted prop. The servers brought out the food. A magnificent golden brown turkey, creamy mashed potatoes, vibrant cranberry sauce. The aromas were intoxicating. My stomach rumbled. I hadn't eaten much all day. I was anticipating this meal. A real meal. A taste of the life I used to know. The serving cart moved down the table. Everyone received a generous portion. David Chen was praising Mark's business acumen. "The new venture is brilliant, Mark," Chen said loudly. "Risky, but brilliant. You secured the funding so quickly." Mark smiled smugly. "When I see an opportunity, I take it." My blood ran cold. The funding, my money. They were gambling with my life savings. Then the cart reached me. The server hesitated, spoon hovering over the turkey. The room suddenly felt too quiet. The clinking of silverware stopped. The chatter died. I felt every eye on me. The silence stretched, taut as a wire. I looked at Mark. He was watching me, a cruel anticipation in his eyes. Mark held up his hand. "Wait." His voice was loud, commanding. The server stopped, confused. Mark stood up. He disappeared into the kitchen. I stared at the turkey. So close, I could almost taste it. I looked at Chloe. She was swirling the wine in her glass. A small, strange smile played on her lips. She wouldn't look at me. She knew what was coming, and she was enjoying it. He returned a moment later. He was carrying something. A small, dented metal bucket. The kind you might use for cleaning supplies. Or slopping hogs. Steam rose from it, but it wasn't the comforting steam of good food. It smelled sour. Acrid. Metallic. Like old soup left out too long. He walked towards me. His footsteps were loud on the polished hardwood floor. Click. Clack. Click. He stopped in front of me. Then he slammed the bucket onto the table. It sloshed. A grayish, lukewarm liquid spilled onto the pristine white tablecloth, staining it instantly. The stain spread like blood. I stared at it, unable to comprehend. It looked like dishwater. Unrecognizable lumps floated in the murky broth. Vegetables boiled into mush. Scraps of meat that looked like gristle. Slop. Was this a joke? A horrible, tasteless joke? I looked up at Mark. His face was smug, a cruel twist to his lips. This was no joke. There you go, Arthur, Mark announced loudly. He made sure every guest heard. His voice boomed in the silent room. He gestured to the bucket with a flourish, like a magician revealing a trick. We're cutting costs, he continued, gesturing around the opulent dining room. Can't afford gourmet meals for everyone. He paused for effect, especially those who don't contribute. The words hit me like a physical blow. Don't contribute? After I gave them everything? I felt the blood drain from my face. The humiliation burned, hot and acidic. My throat tightened. I couldn't breathe. I couldn't look away from the bucket. The gray, congealing slop. The silence cut deeper than any word. I looked at Chloe, my daughter, my little girl. Please, Chloe, say something. Defend me. She was watching me, but her eyes weren't soft. They were cold, hard as the diamonds on her wrist. Her silence was an endorsement. It was a betrayal deeper than any I had ever known. Then a small voice cut through the silence. My grandson, Leo. He was only 8. Innocent. Confused. Mommy? Leo asked, his voice trembling slightly. Why does Grandpa have different food? The innocence in his question was heartbreaking. Chloe smoothed Leo's hair. She never broke eye contact with me. Her gaze pinned me to my chair. Her voice was clear, sharp as broken glass. 'Cause Grandpa hasn't earned the good food, sweetie, she said. Earned. I spent a lifetime earning, building a legacy for her. Then she turned fully to me. The mask was off. The contempt was raw, naked. The daughter I knew was gone. Now this is what your food will look like, freeloader. Silence. Absolute, suffocating silence. The word freeloader echoed in the room. It hung in the air, heavy and poisonous. It knocked the wind out of me. Me? A freeloader? A wave of nausea rolled over me. It wasn't the slop. It was the realization. My daughter truly despised me. I knew, with sudden, terrifying clarity, I could not stay here another minute. I pushed my chair back. It scraped loudly on the floor, the sound jarring in the silence. I stood up. My legs were shaking, but I stood tall. I didn't say a word. There were no words left. I turned and walked out of the dining room. My back straight, my head held high. I would not let them see me cry. As I reached the hallway, I heard Mark's voice boom behind me. Well, that was dramatic, he sneered. Don't mind him, folks. He gets confused. Confused. The lie they told everyone. It was easier than admitting the truth. Then the sound that broke the last remaining piece of my heart. Chloe's laughter. High, tinkling, cruel laughter. She was laughing at me, at my pain. The sound followed me up the stairs. It wrapped around my throat, choking me. They had already moved on. I was already forgotten. I climbed the steep, narrow stairs to my room above the garage. The sounds of the party continued below, muffled but present. Life went on without me. I closed the door, shutting out the noise, shutting out the betrayal. I pulled my old suitcase from the closet. My hands were steady now. The shaking had stopped. Replaced by a cold, hard resolve, I packed my clothes. My medication, the framed picture of Clara from our wedding day. Her smile, a ghost from a better time. She would know what to do. She always knew. As I packed, I overheard snippets of conversation, drifting up from the patio below my window. Chloe was talking to one of her friends. It's for his own good, really, Chloe was saying, her voice dripping with false sympathy. He's declining so fast. He forgets things. He gets angry. Mark and I are looking into a facility. A cage. Lies she told to justify her actions. But then I heard the rest. One of those state-run places, she added, lowering her voice slightly. It's all we can afford with him draining our resources. Draining their resources. The irony was staggering. A state-run nursing home. The kind of place where people go to die. They weren't just humiliating me, they were planning to discard me, to throw me away like trash. And they were using the money I'd given them to justify it. I zipped up the suitcase. The sound was final. There was one last thing I needed. In the back of the closet, hidden under a stack of old blankets. A small, leather-bound notebook. Clara's notebook. I picked it up. The leather was soft, worn under my fingers. It felt like holding her hand again. I didn't know why I grabbed it. Maybe instinct, maybe desperation. I walked downstairs. The party was in full swing. Music was playing now. No one noticed me slip out the side door. I was invisible. The November night air was sharp, cold. It bit at my cheeks. It felt good. It felt clean. It washed away the stench of the mansion. I walked down the long, winding driveway, the gravel crunching under my feet. I didn't look back. I didn't have a car. They had sold mine when I moved in. Said I didn't need it. Another lie. Another way to control me. I walked for a long time. The streets were empty. I didn't have a plan. I just knew I had to get away. Eventually, I found a bus station. It was cold, dirty, smelled like diesel and despair. I bought a ticket to the city. I sat on the hard plastic bench, Clara's notebook on my mask, waiting for the bus. I needed to check my finances. I needed to know how bad it really was. The conversation I overheard about draining my accounts was haunting me. I found an ATM nearby. The screen glowed brightly in the darkness. I inserted the debit card Chloe had given me, the joint account card. I typed in my PIN. My fingers trembled slightly. The screen flashed. Balance
$87.50.
That was all that was left. Hundreds of thousands of dollars. My retirement savings, my life's work, vanished. They hadn't just been bleeding me dry. They had drained every drop. The realization hit me with the force of a freight train. My breath caught in my throat. They called me a freeloader, while stealing everything I had. They planned to throw me into a state home because they had spent all the money that could have paid for Dent One. The depth of their greed. Their betrayal. It was staggering. It was bottomless. It was monstrous. I felt a sudden desperate panic. The cold seeped into my bones. I was 72 years old. I was homeless. I had $87 to my name. What was I going to do? How would I survive? I sat back down on the bench. The panic threatened to overwhelm me. I felt weak, helpless, lost. They had won. They had broken me. I needed answers. I needed to know why they hated me so much. I remembered something. Clara had a hospice nurse. In her final days. Nurse Patricia. A kind woman. Maybe she saw something. Maybe Clara told her something. I pulled out my phone. I searched for her number.
I found it. I dialed. Hello?
A tired voice answered. Nurse Patricia, it's Arthur Jenkins. Clara's husband.
Ounce.
Oh, Arthur. I'm so sorry for your loss. How are you?
I'm not Patricia. I need your help.
Did you notice anything strange when Clara was sick? With Chloe and Mark? There was a long pause. I shouldn't say anything, Arthur. It's unprofessional. Please, Patricia, I'm desperate. They've taken everything, she sighed. A heavy, sad sound. They were very interested in the will, Arthur. They kept asking Clara about her assets, her accounts, even when she was heavily medicated. They were pushing her to sign documents. It made me uncomfortable, Patricia continued. Clara was scared of them. She told me she didn't doubt Mark. She said he was greedy. She was worried about you. They were planning this all along, even before Clara died. The greed was premeditated. They had pressured a dying woman. My Clara, the truth was uglier than I imagined. It wasn't just neglect. It was a calculated attack. I thanked Patricia. I hung up. I looked at the notebook on my lap. Clara, what would Clara do? Clara was meticulous. She kept records of everything, every transaction, every agreement, every conversation. She always said, hope for the best, Arthur, but plan for the worst. If this story is hitting home for you, if you've ever felt the sting of betrayal from those you trusted most, please hit the like button and don't forget to subscribe. It helps our channel grow and bring more stories like this to light. It helps to know I'm not alone. I opened the note. Her familiar handwriting filled the pages. Neat, precise, comforting. I turned to the section marked Chloe and Mark, my hands shaking, and then I saw it. My heart stopped. Clara had documented the transfer of the money I gave them for the house. The date, the amount, the bank account numbers. But she hadn't just documented the transaction. She had included a copy of the agreement we had signed, an agreement I had completely forgotten about. It wasn't a gift. It was a loan, a private mortgage, secured against the house. I had forgotten about it, and my grief after Clara died, I had let the details slip away. I was lost, broken. I trusted them, my own daughter. I didn't think I needed legal protection from my own flesh and blood, but Clara knew better. Nurse Patricia confirmed it. Clara knew that money changes people. She saw the darkness in Mark. Maybe she saw it in Chloe, too. She had insisted on the agreement. Just a formality, Arthur, she had said. To protect you, just in case. She always protected me, even from beyond the grave. I read the agreement. The words swam before my eyes. The language was clear, precise, ironclad. The loan was interest-free, provided one condition was met, that I was allowed to live in the house, cared for and respected until my death. If the agreement was breached, I read the next line, and a cold realization washed over me. If the agreement was breached, the full amount of the loan, plus accrued interest at the maximum legal rate, became immediately due and payable. Immediately, and if they failed to pay, I had the right to close on the property. I held the deed to their destruction in my hands. They had overplayed their hand. They got greedy, and they got sloppy. They thought I was weak, confused, helpless. They thought they could discard me like yesterday's trash. They were wrong. The panic vanished, replaced by a cold, simmering rage, a strength I hadn't felt in years. I was a builder. I built things, but I could also tear them down, and I was about to tear their world down, brick by brick. I knew what I had to do. I pulled out my old flip phone, the one Chloe always mocked. I dialed a number I hadn't called in years. It rang 3 times. I was afraid he wouldn't answer. It was Thanksgiving night. Hello? A sharp, professional voice answered. Mr. Harrison? It's Arthur Jenkins, Robert Harrison, the best real estate lawyer in the state. He had handled all my contracts when I was building. He was ruthless. He was brilliant. He was also a friend. Arthur? He sounded surprised. It's been a long time. Happy Thanksgiving. I'm afraid it's not a happy Thanksgiving, Robert, I said. My voice was steady. Stronger than I expected. I need your help. I explained the situation. The humiliation at dinner. The bucket of slop. The plan to put me in a state home. The revelation from Nurse Patricia about their premeditated greed. The theft of my savings, and the agreement I held in my hands. Mr. Harrison listened patiently. He didn't interrupt. He just listened. When I finished, he let out a low whistle. Arthur, if that agreement is what you say it is, you have them over a barrel. A private mortgage is a powerful weapon, he continued, and a breach of the living conditions clause, the bucket of slop, the room above the garage, that's a slam dunk. Is it valid? I asked, my voice trembling slightly. Absolutely, Mr. Harrison confirmed. Clara was smart. She made sure everything was notarized and filed correctly. It's ironclad. Ironclad. The word felt good, solid, like a strong foundation. They'll fight back, I said. They'll say I'm incompetent, that I have dementia. They've been telling everyone I'm declining. Let them try, Mr. Harrison said, his voice hardening. I'll have a competency evaluation done first thing in the morning. I know Dr. Evelyn Reed. She's the best in the field. Her report will shut that narrative down before it even starts. But we need more, he added. We need proof of the theft. We need the bank records. And we need witnesses. The nurse, the neighbors, the housekeeper, Maria. We need to bury them. We need to act fast, Harrison said. We need to hit them hard, and we need to hit them now. before they have a chance to cover their tracks. Where are you now, Arthur? The bus station. Stay right there, Mr. Harrison commanded. I'm coming to get you. He took me to a hotel. A decent one. Clean. Respectable. Get some rest, Arthur, he said, handing me a keycard. We have a big day tomorrow. I lay awake, staring at the ceiling. I missed Clara terribly, but I knew she wouldn't want me to give up. She would want me to fight. For myself. For my dignity. The next morning, Black Friday, the biggest shopping day of the year. While Chloe and Mark were likely sleeping off their expensive wine, I was preparing for war. First, I met with Dr. Reed. She was kind, thorough. An hour later, she signed the report. I was perfectly competent, perfectly lucid. Mr. Harrison picked me up at 10 a.m. sharp. He had a briefcase full of documents and a determined look on his face. He clicked his pen repeatedly, a nervous habit he had when preparing battle. Are you ready, Arthur? He asked. I'm ready. First stop, the bank. I found Sarah Jenkins at her counter. She recognized me immediately. Her eyes widened when she saw me with Mr. Harrison. Mr. Jenkins, are you all right? I was worried. I need your help, Sarah, I said. I need the records for the past 2 years. Her smile faltered. I can't do that, Mr. Jenkins. Your daughter has power of attorney. She obtained it under false pretenses while managing his move. Mr. Harrison interrupted, stepping forward. He handed her a document. This is a court order freezing all accounts associated with Mr. Jenkins. And we need those records. Now, Sarah looked at the document. She looked at me, realization dawning on her face. Mr. Jenkins, I'm so sorry, she whispered. I knew something was wrong. The transfers to Mark Anderson's business account. He said you approved it for a new investment. He was very charming, the mask they wore for the world. We left the bank with the evidence we needed. The systematic draining of my accounts. The transfers to Mark's failing business venture. The theft was clear, undeniable. Next stop, the courthouse. Mr. Harrison filed the paperwork. A formal demand for payment. A notice of intent to foreclose. A lien on the property. It was a legal grenade lobbed directly into the heart of their carefully constructed lives. The demand letter will be delivered by courier this afternoon. Mr. Harrison explained they have 72 hours to pay the full amount, plus interest. How much is the interest? I asked. Mr. Harrison smiled, a shark-like smile. By my calculation, based on the maximum legal rate accrued over the past 2 years since the breach began, it comes to just over $500,000. $500,000. I knew they didn't have it. They lived on credit, fueled by my stolen savings. They were trapped. We waited. I stayed at Mr. Harrison's office. The hours crawled by. I felt a strange sense of calm. The storm was coming, and I was the one who unleashed it. At 3 p.m., the courier confirmed delivery. The package was signed for by Chloe Anderson. At 3:15 p.m., Mr. Harrison's phone rang. It was Chloe. He put it on speaker. Mr. Harrison? Her voice was hysterical, high-pitched with panic. The polished facade was cracking. What is the meaning of this letter? This must be a mistake. There is no mistake. Mrs. Anderson, Harrison replied calmly. Mortgage? What mortgage? She shrieked. It was a gift. He gave us that money. The documentation says otherwise, Mr. Harrison said, tapping the file on his desk. And the conditions of the loan have been breached. He's confused, she screamed. The same lies, the same excuses. He doesn't understand what he's doing. He's mentally unstable. We've been trying to get him help. Your father is perfectly lucid, Mrs. Anderson, Mr. Harrison countered. Dr. Reed confirmed it this morning, and he understands exactly what he is doing. He is reclaiming what is rightfully his. But we can't pay this, she cried. The tears were audible now. Fake tears. Manipulative tears. We don't have the money. $500,000? It's insane. Then I suggest you start packing, Mr. Harrison said, and hung up. The silence in the office was deafening. I closed my eyes, picturing the scene in the mansion. The panic, the fear, the realization that their world was collapsing. It wasn't revenge I felt, it was justice. The next call came an hour later. It was Mark. His voice was cold, menacing. "You listen to me, you old fool," he snarled. The veneer of civilization stripped away, the monster underneath exposed. "You think you can get away with this? I will destroy you. I will have you thrown in jail for fraud," he threatened. "I will make sure you die penniless in the street." His words were meant to scare me, but I wasn't scared. Not anymore. They had already taken everything from me. They couldn't take anything else. "Mr. Anderson," Mr. Harrison interrupted, his voice like steel. "I suggest you choose your words carefully. Threats like that do not look good in court. And, believe me, you will be in court. We have the bank records. We know about the theft. We know about the failing business. We know everything." Mark sputtered, furious, impotent. He hung up. The threats were empty. They had underestimated me, and that was their fatal mistake. The 72 hours passed. They tried to negotiate. They tried to beg. They offered partial payments. Mr. Harrison refused everything. Full payment, or the foreclosure proceeds. They didn't pay. They couldn't. The foreclosure proceedings began. It was swift, brutal, and final. The legal process took a few weeks. But the outcome was never in doubt. The documentation was ironclad. Clara's notebook was irrefutable. Chloe and Mark tried to fight it. They hired a lawyer, a cheap one, all they could afford. He argued that the agreement was invalid, that I was incompetent, that the breach of conditions was subjective. Mr. Harrison dismantled his arguments one by one. He presented the competency evaluation from Dr. Reed. He presented the bank records from Sarah Jenkins, proving the theft. He presented the testimony from Nurse Patricia about their premeditated greed and the pressure they put on Clara. But we needed one more key witness. Maria, the housekeeper. Mr. Harrison sent a private investigator to find her. She had been fired by Chloe shortly after Thanksgiving. She was scared, reluctant to get involved. Mr. Harrison met with her. He assured her she would be protected. He appealed to her sense of justice. She agreed to testify. In court, Maria was nervous. Her voice trembled, but her testimony was devastating. They talked about it openly, she told the judge. About draining his accounts, about putting him in a state home. They treated him like a servant. She looked at me, tears in her eyes. "I'm so sorry, Mr. Jenkins. I should have said something sooner." We also subpoenaed Miss Albright, the neighbor. She was forced to testify about the lies. Chloe told her about my mental state and what she witnessed on Thanksgiving. "I saw them through the window," she whispered, ashamed. "I saw the bucket. I heard the shouting. It was horrible. The truth was out. The lies exposed." The judge, Eleanor Vance, was a stern woman. She looked at Chloe and Mark with undisguised contempt. "The defendants have shown a shocking lack of morality and decency," she declared, her voice echoing in the courtroom. "They have preyed on the vulnerability of a grieving father. The foreclosure is granted." Chloe burst into tears. Mark stared at the floor, defeated. I felt nothing but a profound emptiness. The house was put up for auction. It sold quickly. The market was hot. After the legal fees were paid, the remaining balance came back to me. I had recovered almost everything they had stolen. Nearly $600,000. I was no longer penniless. I was free. Chloe and Mark were forced to move out. The eviction was public, humiliating. They moved into a small, rundown apartment on the other side of town. Mark's business collapsed. David Chen sued him for fraud when the funding dried up. The scandal ruined his reputation. No one wanted to do business with a man who would steal from his own father-in-law. I never saw them again. Sometimes I would think about Chloe, the little girl I loved, and I would mourn her loss, as if she had died, because the daughter I knew was gone. Greed had killed her. I used the money to buy a small, comfortable condo in the city. It had a balcony where I'd sit and watch the sunset, and a workshop where I could build furniture again. The smell of sawdust was comforting, familiar. I started volunteering, helping build houses for families in need. I was rebuilding my life, one brick at a time. One afternoon, a few months later, I received a letter. It was addressed to me in childish handwriting. It was from Leo, my grandson. I opened it, my hands trembling. Dear Grandpa, I miss you. Mommy and Daddy are fighting all the time. I don't like it here. Daddy yells. Mommy cries. I'm scared. Can I come live with you? Love, Leo? Tears streamed down my face as I read the simple words. The cycle of greed and betrayal had claimed another victim. Leo, innocent, pure. He deserved better. He deserved a strong foundation. I called Mr. Harrison. Robert, I need your help again. We filed for emergency custody. Given Chloe and Mark's financial situation, their unstable living conditions, the emotional distress in their home, Mark's pending fraud charges, Judge Vance presided over the case again. She granted me full custody. Chloe and Mark didn't fight it effectively. They were too broken, too consumed by their own misery. Leo came to live with me. His laughter filled my condo, chasing away the shadows of the past. He brought light, hope, a reason to keep building. He was the legacy I needed to protect, the future I needed to build. One evening, we were sitting on the balcony, watching the sunset. The sky painted in shades of orange and purple. Leo was building a Lego tower, his brow furrowed in concentration. He was a builder too. Grandpa? He asked, looking up at me with his big brown eyes. His voice small, uncertain. Yes, Leo? Are we freeloaders? The question hit me like a punch to the gut, the poison of Chloe's words still lingering. The scars of their cruelty ran deep. I looked at him, my heart aching. I pulled him onto my lap, holding him tight. No, Leo, I said, my voice thick with emotion. We are builders. We build things that last, I continued, gesturing to the city skyline. We build homes, we build families, and we build them on love and respect, not money and greed. I looked at the picture of Clara, kept on the mantelpiece. Her smile seemed warmer, brighter now. We did it, Clara, I whispered. We protected our legacy. I had lost a daughter, but I had saved my grandson, and I had regained my dignity. I was old, but I was not weak. I was a survivor, and in the quiet of my condo, surrounded by the love of my grandson, I finally found peace. The foundation was strong. The structure was sound. The storm had passed. I was home. Thanks for listening. Please rate our story in the comments. If you enjoyed it, don't forget to subscribe. Your support means a lot, because your time matters.